Hello, and welcome to the Overcoming Cultural Barriers in the U.S. Interview Webshop. This webshop is designed to help you understand and navigate the cultural barriers you might encounter in an interview. In addition to familiarizing yourself with the types of interview or interview questions, it is helpful for you to be aware of some cultural factors that come into play in the interview process. There are certain interview practices and behaviors that might be acceptable in one culture, but may not be appropriate in the U.S. interview process. First, let us define what an interview is. The interview process is a two-way communication. The employer determines if the job applicant is the right candidate for the job, and the job applicant determines if the job is a fit for them. Interviewing is a skill that is developed over time, requiring preparation and practice. It is your chance to have a conversation with the interviewer, make connections with them, and most importantly, convince the employer that you are the ideal candidate for the position. Interviewing in the U.S. may be different from what you're familiar with or used to. U.S. cultural values influence the job interview process. We are going to go over what preparation you need to make before, during, and after the interview. U.S. employers appreciate candidates who are able to exhibit knowledge about their organization during the interview process. As you make preparations before the interview, increase your knowledge of the organization. Research and obtain as much information as you can about the position and the organization. Learn about the company through their website and press releases. During the interview, you will be given an opportunity to determine if you think the job is a fit for you by asking the employer questions. Create a list of relevant questions based on what you learned about the organization to bring to the interview. Gain familiarity with the interview process. Learn the different types of interview. Interviews can be done through a phone screen, individually in person, in a panel, or group. For candidates with technical expertise, there may be a technical portion of the interview. You can refer to the Career Center website for more information on these. According to Big Interview, some studies have shown that people form first impressions based on 55% body language and only 7% on actual verbal content. This finding suggests that interviewees need to pay attention to their nonverbal behavior. There are several areas that make up nonverbal behavior. A firm handshake is one of the things that create a good impression. Expect to shake a lot of hands in networking and interviews in the U.S. Practice doing a firm handshake. Establishing eye contact is also important and conveys confidence. In other cultures, direct eye contact may be perceived as being disrespectful. In the U.S., direct eye contact conveys that you are interested in what someone has to say. Another important thing to be mindful of is how much personal space you have between you and the employer during the interview. Personal space is the distance that we keep from the person in front of us. Americans expect to have more personal space than in other cultures. Punctuality is also prized in the U.S. culture. Arrive at least 10 to 15 minutes early for your interview. Practicing helps build your confidence. Before the actual interview, practice answering questions in English. Anticipate questions that you might be asked. A personal question you might be asked is, "Tell me about yourself." In answering this question, you do not need to provide a lot of information about your personal life. The interviewer expects you to answer this question with pertinent information to the job you're applying for. Talk about how you got interested in the field. Discuss how your studies have prepared you with the skills needed for the job. U.S. interview questions assess your career awareness. Employers are interested in long-term plans that you might have. You may be asked about your future goals. Employers are also interested to learn about your experience and how you handled things. Practice interview questions using Big Interview. Visit the SJSU Career Center website under the Interviewing section to learn how to log into the system. You can also practice answering interview questions with a friend. Before getting to the actual interview, make sure that you're dressed appropriately and brought copies of your resume. Make sure to smile and greet employees that you might meet at the lobby while waiting for your interview to start. During the interview, remember to engage in self-promotion. In the U.S., it is acceptable to talk about your accomplishments and achievements and is even expected by employers. Use the STAR method to think about specific accomplishment statements you can discuss for your interview. Be direct in your communication. Eye contact is expected throughout the interview. Answering questions in an open and direct manner is appropriate. Show your enthusiasm for the position. Smile during the interview. Be aware that the interview may be conducted informally. The interview process may be more congenial and friendly. Some organizations may even take you on a tour of their facility and introduce you to their employee as part of their interview. While the interview can be informal, note that it is still an interview, and how you conduct yourself throughout the process is being observed and noted. Express your interest about the position and organization by asking relevant questions when given the opportunity. Refer to your relevant questions based on research made during the preparation stage. Ask what the next steps are and when you might expect to hear back. There is some information asked in other cultures that are appropriate that may be considered inappropriate in the U.S. job interview process. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Act establishes guidelines for job interviews. It is inappropriate for employers to ask questions about race, age, religious or political affiliation, color, place of birth or nation of origin, disability, marital and family status, age, and ancestry. While there are inappropriate questions that you might encounter, it is appropriate for employers to ask if you have the minimum legal requirements for the job, such as the appropriate work authorization, and if you meet the minimum age requirements. If you encounter an inappropriate question, you can deflect the questions and focus on highlighting what you're good at. If you feel that your rights were violated during an interview, consult with SJSU Career Center. Thanking employers for the chance to interview is expected in the U.S. interview process. Write a thank you email 24 hours after the interview. In addition to expressing your gratitude for having the chance to interview, the thank you email also gives you a chance to highlight skills and experiences that you would like the employer to keep in mind. Be assertive and not aggressive. Follow up with the employer based on the timelines that they say they expect to make a decision. Do not follow up beforehand and give them the time that they say they need to make a decision. If you have not heard back from the timeline that the employer provided, follow up with a call or email. Thank you for joining our web shop. If you need more information, please visit the SJSU Career Center website.